Normally we talk about landlording, property management, all of that good stuff. But you know what? When we have somebody this experienced, this skilled, we just sometimes change it up. We're going to talk to Dana Dumfort, the CEO of Hemlane, on a totally different subject. We are going to talk about our advice to college graduates. If you're graduating college in the next 6 months, next summer, there's a chance that you might be graduating into a teeth of a recession. So, what would be some advice Dana and I have for you? Dana, I think you may have graduated in a recession. So, tell us about that.
Yeah, so I graduated in 2008 and
Mm. Oh, wow.
unfortunately,
Wow.
and there were no jobs for anyone. Half of my friends who I would say are very qualified, straight A students, very good from the academia perspective, um, had a really, really hard time finding a job. But here is where I will give you a little bit of hope. And this is from my own personal experience going through it. The first thing is you have to have internships.
Mm.
If you do not have internships, one, you don't know what you're signing up for in that first job. And if the first job doesn't go well, then it looks like, oh, wow, this person, their first job, they couldn't make it, right? So you need to make sure it's a good culture fit, a good place for you to grow and thrive. So you need an internship for that perspective. But the second reason you need an internship is companies these days do not hire and take a risk on a college graduate when they have not worked with them. Because I've seen people who have straight A's at school, but for some reason in the work environment, they just can't survive. They're academic, but they can't execute and thrive in a business environment, maybe because of how they collaborate with others or something else. And so you have to have an internship. If
Mm.
you don't have an internship and you're graduating, that's okay. You can go out and say, hey, can I have an internship? And hopefully it turns into a job. Here's where I'll give you hope in my experience. So I had an internship. There's no excuse if you're full-time in school not to have an internship. I graduated with a double major. So both in the arts and science school and in the business school. So two different degrees, I guess it wasn't a major, it was a dual degree. So it was like two physical degrees.
Mm.
And I worked a minimum of 15 hours every week for a company. So like, there's no excuse for you not to, you can still do that. But here was the really interesting thing as a college grad. When I was an intern, I did a little bit of something for everyone. So every single, team member had me do something, and I would walk around the office and say, instead of doing my schoolwork, I would say, hey, I just finished that assignment, for John. Does anyone else have anything for me to do? And I always stayed busy. When it came time for refs, reduction in forces, the VP had noticed that I had done that. And they brought me into their office and they said, how much do you know about what everyone does? I said, I have access to everyone's files. I mean, I was naive at that time. I have access to everyone's files. I do a little bit for everyone. Here's kind of the processes that are set up. I don't know everything, but I know a little bit of what everyone is doing. And she said, okay, and then walked out. And a week later, everyone on my team was let go.
Oh.
And they kept one person. And I had just converted to full time.
Oh, wow.
And guess who that person was? It was me. And you know why they kept me? You could probably take a guess.
Well, I'm going to guess you were the cheapest.
I was the
And
cheapest.
yeah, and you knew a little bit of everything. Yeah.
I was the cheapest of everyone on the team.
Yeah, of
And
course.
they also knew from a work ethic, I was trying to build myself up in my career. So they knew I was going to work around the clock and I was the cheapest. And so that will give you, as a college graduate, a little bit of hope, but they're not going to take someone externally and bring them in.
Yeah.
But that really helped set up my career, because suddenly I was given a lot of responsibility that I actually probably had no business being given, right?
Yeah.
But I had to learn it. I just had to help learn. And they reorged a ton of people, so other people came on the team and kind of figured things out as well. But you have to have an internship, and you have to be passionate about what you do. If you are the type of person who clocks out at 5 and doesn't, and like, hey, all my work is done. And so I'm just going to go on TikTok or whatever you do as a college student these days. You're not going to make it. You need to be the person who, the second you finish something, hey, Michael, what else can I do for you? Let me know anything, even if it's administrative. Do you need me to file papers for you? I will do it. I am here to make your life easier. When you do that, they're going to keep you around for a long time. And then they're going to, because they trust you, give you more responsibility. And suddenly you go from filing paperwork to, doing much larger projects. But yeah, so I think coming out of a recession, or sorry, recruiting in a recession, or what's bound to be one with winter coming, is very, very difficult. Jobs are frozen, but if you are that intern, they're going to take a chance on you because they're going to look at their org. We have way too many executives and management at this company. We need to cut them. Oh shoot, but we physically need someone to
we need some bodies.
and so that is where you're going to play a crucial role.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. The other, there's so much in that, just kind of adding my 2 cents. I think a college graduate graduating into a recession, it's obviously hard. It, life's not fair. Life throws us curveballs all the time. I would tell you, in my experience as an individual contributor, and then the last decade or two, kind of hiring people, you have to make yourself stand out.
Mm-hmm.
And the good news about today, Dana, is it's never been easier to stand out. There are so many people just doing the minimum.
Yeah.
That standing out is, 1%. It makes you stand out. Some of the things that I would coach people up for, again, if you're coming out with a college degree and maybe it's in computer science or engineering or, something very kind of focused, is go get uncomfortable. Go take a speech class. Go do a debate class. Do something to kind of round you out. I've run into plenty of people that were, maybe great at what they were doing, but they were horrible communicators, and you could never figure out what they're doing. They're shy, right? Something about Toastmasters kind of brings you out, right? I was a natural introvert for most of my adult life.
I would never have guessed that.
I was very, very quiet, but you go get a commission-based job, and the only way you get paid is when you open your mouth. You figure it out. And so I would do things to get uncomfortable to round you out. I would also, if you came out with a, like if you came out with a communications degree, I would go try to do the other things, right? I would go do some kind of programming or some kind of I would just try to round yourself out because, again, it's so easy to stand out today. So I would use other people's laziness against them, frankly.
Yeah. And one other thing about that, you bring up a really valid point of rounding yourself out. There's this perception when you go into the job industry that you're climbing a ladder.
Yeah.
And I'm very against when you are in your 20s climbing a ladder at all. Because the second you climb the ladder, and let's just say you climb up to chief operating officer, you suddenly are working very cross collaboratively. The higher up you are, the more you're working with other departments. People expect you to know everything, how finances work, how your P&L works, whatever it may be. And so instead, I would really encourage folks to look at moving across departments. So you know how to run a P&L, so you know how to do project management, so that you know how to work with engineers on product management. If you can round yourself out earlier on, the second you start moving up, then you can talk to the marketing person and say, I don't understand the channel acquisition costs and why you guys are doing it this way. And they're like, oh, whoa, this operations person really knows that they're calling me out. And it's because you've been in marketing.
Right.
And that will help you because you can only get to a certain level if you climb up fast, quickly, because you've never been able to round yourself out. If you can do what others aren't by learning every department, then by the time you climb up, you can climb even higher because people say, whoa, they actually know how to work across all of the organization. And so I would really encourage, like, reset. Don't say I'm going to be, and whenever someone says like, I'm going to be a manager at the age of 27, it's like, that's really shouldn't be your goal. Your
Right.
goal should be to know enough about business that you are the smartest person in the room and that you can strategically think, and that will help you get up there without you even trying to get there.
I love it. It's great advice. Folks, if you're graduating next summer, congratulations. We may be in the teeth of a recession, but realize it's on you. You have the opportunity. Your peers suck, frankly. So go stand out, do those extra things, and have some fun. Dana, if somebody wanted to learn more about Hemlane and get the trial, what do we send them?
Yeah, you can go to www.hemlane.com. Just mention One Rental at a Time for a free trial, and that's for anything from finding and placing a tenant to the day-to-day management.
I love it. Folks, if you're in the One Rental at a Time course or a follower and you don't have any rental units, go get the trial. Practice. Practice being a landlord. It's awesome. Thank you, Dana.